to hear us. Awesome.
Woo!
All right, so we're gonna jump right into it. But first, I want to welcome everybody. How many people are from Detroit that's in the room?
Woo!
All right. And how many people are visiting? Not from Detroit, surrounding cities.
Yep, we got a couple people.
Well, the reason this panel is called WhatUp Doe is because from Detroit, that's how we greet each other. So I'm gonna say WhatUp Doe, and y'all gonna say WhatUp Doe. All right?
Yep.
WhatUp Doe.
WhatUp Doe?
All right, let's get this started.
WhatUp Doe is not a question, it's a statement. Just
Yes.
It's a statement.
Good point.
So we're going to start off with introductions from each one of the panelists. So we want to lay this groundwork. As Rishi said, we are born, raised, and bred in Detroit, Michigan. So we want to tell you a little bit about our connections. So I'll start this off with the introduction. So tell us about yourself, your company, and your Detroit roots. And where did you grow up? What neighborhood? Where did you go to high school? Like, run it down for us. Like, let us know how Detroit you are. And go ahead and kick it off for us, Brandon.
Good day to everyone. Glad to be here. Great to see some familiar faces and meet some new people. Brandon Cooper, co-founder and CEO of AFIT. I'm from the west side of Detroit. 7 Mile area, like so I lived in Rosedale Park area, then I moved to 7 Mile for most of my teenage years. Then I went to Michigan State University for marketing. School, unfortunately, wasn't for me. I've always wanted to do business, so I left after like my 3rd year and did network marketing, some other things that kind of set the groundwork for me. Learned about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, cash flow quadrants, Robert Kiyosaki. So all those things kind of shaped my entrepreneurial journey. But worked for Apple for 7 years as a senior technology advisor for them. It was great until it wasn't. You know, most jobs start off good and it gets worse progressively over time. So I left that company, Apple, to start AFIT. AFIT is a platform that allows you to digitally clone yourself to have it work on your behalf all over the internet. We're very limited to where we can work. As a human person, you can only work at one job at a time. So by digitally cloning yourself and putting your information into a digital form, you can be in 20, 30, 40 places all at one time. So that's what our company does. And we've been fortunate. We just finished Techstars Detroit earlier this year.
Woo!
And we've been blessed. We've been featured on Forbes, CBS, NBC, Fox, Steve Harvey, and more. So blessed to be here.
Yeah. All right.
Kicking it over to Mike.
What's the deal? I'm Michael. This is the first time I'm ever going to say this to anybody, like in a crowd setting, this story. So I'm from, Detroit, grew up, born and raised. My mom's sitting right here.
All right. Hey, Mom.
From the west side, Linwood and LaSalle area. Then moved to Romulus for a few years. It was the worst 4 years of my entire life. My mom can attest to that. Moved back to Detroit. It's the happiest experience ever. Until I went to Southeastern High School for a month. Before it became the illustrious Southeastern High School, it was not that. The teachers basically kicked me out. They said I shouldn't be there. Went to another school, Miller. Then went to King. Graduated from King. Week after high school, opened up a clothing store on the west side, Dexter Davidson, called Gear Unlimited. It's still there today. The city of Detroit just invested $60 million in the neighborhood because that store is still open today.
Wow.
So shout
Wow.
out to them.
Yeah.
I left the store in 2012 because somebody robbed the store, put a gun in my face, pulled the trigger 5 times, and never went off. And then somebody else shot me. And my mom and everybody was like, "You out of there." So I had to figure out what to do. Started trying to invest in stocks. It was super hard to do, and I was like, me being this smart, if this is this hard for me to do, I know it's harder for everybody else to do it. So I was like, let me find a better way to do this for everybody. And so I created Stockpile, where we democratize access to wealth building tools. So we let people discover how investable your like personal data is. So like all your data on Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, all this stuff. Other people make a lot of money off your data and you get paid nothing for it. So what we do is we let you connect that to our trading platform, and using machine learning, we started building in 2020. We discover all the publicly traded brands and companies you naturally interact with, and then send that to you with sentiment analysis, whether it's positive, negative, or neutral, and it lets you make an investment decision from there.
Nice.
Sheesh.
All right. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not fun to go last. I'll start with where I grew up. I'm a lifelong and intentional Detroiter. I've lived in Detroit my entire life with the exception of a couple years that I spent in Huntsville, Alabama at a black college. You said Dexter and Davidson where Gear Unlimited was. I grew up off Dexter. So Dexter, but closer to the boulevard. And Detroit means so much to me. Like, before it was cute, before it was popping, before we were popular, I knew that I would die in this city. Hopefully not prematurely.
Right, right.
I knew that I was called to do something here in Detroit. Didn't know quite what it was, and even though I'm an intentional Detroiter, I'm sort of an accidental entrepreneur. In 2007, I was going through a divorce from my first husband, and I had a baby. And I was like, I need to make some extra money. And so we looked at what can I monetize. And at that time I was 26. I'm like, I can cook. So baby showers and, you know, bridal showers and all the things that you can sort of cater and do, but that's not something that's scalable and it's really, really difficult. So I decided that maybe if I do a food cart, because food trucks hadn't come to Detroit, I said if I do a food cart, I can make some bread, because the guy at 36th District is selling hot dogs and making $80,000 a year, and he don't even work the winters. So I'm like, if I sell soul food on the cart, then I could probably make $100,000, because that was the goal for any 20-year-old. I want to make 6 figures. So I started working towards that goal, and then food trucks came to Detroit, and I experienced it. I said, this is cute, but it's a kitchen on wheels. It's not even like, there's nothing really proprietary about that. So I said, you know what if I made a restaurant, which would be a cafeteria on wheels? So think of a transit style bus, like a city bus, hot food on one side, cold food on the other. You could walk in, pick out your food cafeteria style, pay, exit, and actually enjoy your lunch. So I was like, great. By this point, it's like 2014, I'm remarried, I have another kid, and I quit my job. I said, if I can sell for these people and make them $500,000 a year off my back and only make 70K, let's go see if we can tighten up those margins up a bit. So I quit my job and I decided I'm about to go make this bus ride. So if anybody's gonna know how to drive a bus, I should know how to drive it, so I got a CDL. But I'm not independently wealthy, and we don't have no friends and family that can invest, so I'm still working. So I ended up driving school buses for a couple of years. I ended up managing a transportation company. Then I ended up at a museum, which is where TripSlip was born. Digital access should not, or a lack of digital access should not stop students from having experiential learning experiences. They should be able to go to the zoo and to the museum and to, you know, any field trip without having to worry about, did you sign this permission slip? That's still a thing. So it doesn't matter if you're 8 or 80 years old, if you have kids, you know from being a kid that the process hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. So we want to make that change starting in Detroit, because how are we the motor city and we're still having mobility issues? So that's what we do at TripSlip.
Nice, yeah.
So before we go deeper, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my company and the company we started. My co-founder is here, so I am the co-founder and the co-CEO of the Live Door. My co-founder, Alicia Gabriel, Dr. Alicia Gabriel, respect her name, is also in the audience as well.
Hey.
So the Live Door is an ag tech STEAM company, and it's science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. We make sure students have access to adequate STEAM education that's engaging and culturally relevant. We manufacture right here in the city of Detroit in a 2,000 square foot facility, and we ship STEAM kits across the globe to 8 countries, and we've shipped over 30,000 STEAM kits and crossed over $1 million in revenue.
Woo!
I'm excited to be here on this panel to show you what these Detroit founders are doing and what we are capable of here, being born and raised right here in the city of Detroit. But I want to, since Achsha was last, we're going to go first. So I want a quick answer from you. What do you love most about Detroit? How has growing up here influenced your journey as an entrepreneur?
You said a quick answer.
Yep.
I love everything about Detroit. I love our spirit. I love how black we are. And I think the thing that influenced me the most growing up in Detroit was the fact that people always used to poop on us. That's not the word I want to use, but
All right.
want to
Shit.
on us. Sorry, Mom. But that's the thing. When you grow up as an underdog and always being told what you can't do, like me, I'm a Christian. I believe in God, and my Bible tells me I'm more than a conqueror. So I can't be a victim and a conqueror at the same time. So not accepting the narrative of what we're told in Detroit and making a bet that one day it wasn't always going to be like that. So coming home from college in the early 2000s, everybody thought I was crazy, but I came back to Detroit because I knew something was going to change. So
it sounds like she was always invested in you. All right, Mike.
I got a short answer. The thing I like most about Detroit is something I just realized like probably 2 weeks ago, is Detroit is the largest community on earth. When you think about like the words community, it's not really a city because like literally everybody in Detroit knows each other. We know like if somebody know your mom or your uncle. It's like we're all like 1 degree separated from each other, and that's like really what a community is. So people kind of say like Detroit is so small because everybody knows everybody, but that's how a community should be. Everybody should know everybody and be connected with everybody. So that's my favorite part about Detroit.
Nice.
For me, I love the grit. Detroit is hard. Like we get respect anywhere we go. If you say you're from Detroit, people recognize that, give us the head nod, like, okay, all right, Detroit. And they be on the rough edge, like, okay, I can't try you. You can't play anybody from Detroit. Also, I love that the Lions are winning. I love that the Tigers are winning.
Yep.
So it's good for the city. But yeah, just being here, just the grit part, that's what I love the most.
I love that. And here's a quote I like to say.
What about you?
So I love everything about Detroit. I love how I can go into places, restaurants, spend my money, shop with black people that look like me. I love that we are building buildings by black developers. I love how the city is growing, but also the people here are still having an input on what's happening, what's changing. I'm born and raised in Southwest Detroit, by the way, so I did want to throw that out there. I don't know who's from Southwest Detroit. BMF, y'all watch the show. So yeah, that's all based in Southwest Detroit. But, you know, I love that about us. I love how great we are. I love that you ask somebody from Detroit what high school you went to. That's like the code to get in.
Yeah.
You know, I just love that we have our unique language. And everybody around the world recognizes Detroit. From Biggie shouting out Stick Peak Gators, so when you go into Atlanta, everybody there, like people know Detroit from Motown. It was the most revolutionary music advent that happened for black people in the world. Detroit built the black middle class. It is one of the most prominent cities in the world. And that's what I love about it and how we're continuing to build on that legacy.
Yeah.
But where I was going next. So after we talked about everything in Detroit, after y'all kind of went in about what y'all doing, I want us to go a little deeper because I love the backstories. I love our connection to Detroit. But I want people to understand, like, y'all really building something real. Like, it gets deep. So can you delve deeper into what you're building with your company, what problem you are solving, and why it is significant?
So the company I built is Trip Slip. That's short for Field Trip Permission Slip. So it seems like a really simple concept because it is. Like, how are teachers still emailing parents asking them to sign a piece of paper? How backwards is that? It makes no sense. So what we built is a free digital permission slip platform to be able to create as many permission slips as you want. Doesn't matter who you are, what it's for. Doesn't have to be trips, field trips. It can be for after school activities or extracurricular activities. But the thing that I'm most excited about right now is called the Yellow Light Project. And that's a sort of spin on the Project Green Light that we've seen around the city, where you see those green strobe lights, you know, it's high definition cameras that are monitoring the area, the police are gonna be by. But the Yellow Light Project is about school bus safety. The average age of a school bus on the road is 19 years, 19. Most of us don't drive a car that's 19 years old, but we put hundreds of thousands of children into buses that are almost 2 decades old, and that's the average age. So some are 2 or 3 years old, some are 25 years old. So how do you know that when a bus pulls up to your kid's field trip or to pick them up for the day, that bus is insured, inspected, that it could pass inspection today? Because the bus that passed inspection 6 months ago may not still be roadworthy. Who, if you had to guess, is in charge of that? Some say the Department of Education, Department of Transportation. It's not, it's the state police. And the truth is, that's the case all over the country. There's not one law that all 50 states in Canada agree on, except for the color of the school bus. That's it. 48 states agree on a lot, but most of it is regional, but the majority of it is done state to state. So how is it that we can help to make sure that our kids are safe on these buses that are primarily being driven by transportation companies? We know that outsourcing is a thing, and so just like there's no more lunch lady at the school, just like you don't know the custodian because it's some company, the same thing is happening with transportation services for students. And so that's what we want to help to be able to affect.
Nice.
So I'm a person that likes win-win-win scenarios. I don't believe like, unless it's like we're playing basketball, somebody has to lose then. But in business, I don't think anybody has to lose when you do business. So Stockpile is basically like an AI company masquerading as fintech, because for AI, you need a lot of data. You need a lot of organic data. You can't feed it off of inorganic data because then you get open AI. So I want your data, and I want to provide something in return in order to collect your data. So to collect your data, I'm providing you with financial literacy tools and information that you can use to monetize your data, basically. You can invest in the publicly traded companies that come across your timeline. And in return, I'm building an artificial intelligence model that will, well, not artificial intelligence, because that doesn't exist, an intelligence assistance model that will help you basically have a funner, better life. Like, there's a better way to do everything, right? Mm-hmm. And OpenAI ain't doing it. Actually failing really badly. Just spending a lot of money. It's so weird. So intelligence assistance will basically, if you're good at what you do, if your job, this will help you enhance and be better. And it's going to give larger language models. So I'm building a small language model. And it's going to feed into larger language models and act like basically like the personality or the brain of a larger language model. It'll understand everybody, not just this weird subset of humans that graduated school in the Pacific Northwest and found their way to San Francisco. And train things and only talk to each other and think women are weird. So we feel like if you train something from the bottom up, it can work for everyone, but training things from the top down, it doesn't really correlate well for everybody. So that's what we're doing.
Nice. Yeah.
So my specialty is in AI, machine learning, deep learning, blockchain technology, just the underlying technology in the cryptocurrency. But as I mentioned to you guys earlier, when I worked for Apple for 7 years as a senior technology advisor, they were working me like a dog. When I was there, I came across a number, not just any number, but a very large number, and that number is 90,000. Did you know that the average person spends 90,000 hours at a job over a lifetime?
Woo!
90,000 hours. And we knew this subconsciously, but let's just say, for instance, you had a clock as soon as you walked into a job and then you saw 90,000 hours and it counted down. You would slit your wrist. But that's what's happening, you just don't see it. But a lot of missed soccer games, a lot of missed baseball games, recitals for your kids, time with your wife, your husband, whatever it may be. So I wanted to create something to where because everyone is like, AI is going to replace us, right? Like 300 million jobs are at stake from AI, right? Like, what is going to be the solution? So AFID in particular, when AI replaces you, you actually get paid from the AI you control. So with our system, we created what's called AFID ID. You have a human identifier that puts you behind the robots as they work all over the internet. So for instance, if Brandon is checking Gmail, responding automatically, LinkedIn is trading stocks automatically with StockPal, you can automate your clones, your digital clones, to work into these environments. Just like the movie The Matrix, remember when Neo downloaded the fighting style? Same thing, right? But if you wanted to learn Spanish, you'd have to spend a month or two or whatever learning it. But the digital version of yourself, you can just download the language and now knows how to speak to your customers. That's what AFID is creating, and we've been working on this for quite some time, kind of going into 2019 or so. So this is way before the AI craze, and I was talking about AI agents. People were looking at me like, "Now, Brandon, what the hell are you talking about?" So it's good that the market has caught up, but yeah, we had to be patient, and now it's here.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Clap.
We're gonna sit here at this AI for a minute because we have Mr. AI on stage, right? So there's a lot of people that feel bad about AI. They're scared about AI. Brendan, what is something that you would tell people who are not really sold on AI? Like, what would you tell them?
I think people should be optimistic about AI. You just have to be really careful with these big companies. I just don't trust them. I don't trust any of them. The smaller the company, even for general brands, I trust smaller brands more than I trust the bigger companies. But you have to think from a creative landscape. If you're a graphic designer, whatever it may be, you can utilize AI when you get like brain fog. You're not staring at a blank canvas, right? But I mean, shameless plug. That's why Aphid exists. We're going to be one of the most important companies on the entire planet, because when AI replaces you with us, you get paid from the ones you control. You'll also be able to manage and see how much time it saved you over a lifetime from these tasks, because you're not doing it manually. So you should feel optimistic because of Aphid. The other companies, I can't really speak so much on that, but the data is scary for certain jobs. But I think everything is just going to migrate over to other things, right? Like if you're doing things on the assembly line, you're probably going to be doing other things that the machines can't do, like human reasoning and such. But they're just going to shift over. So if not, we're going to be dealing with UBI, Universal Basic Income. That's where so many robots have taken over. We're just kind of getting stimulus checks every single month and doing other things. But people aren't even having 5, 6 kids anymore. You're like having 1 or 2 kids. They're like, I'm done. So they're trying to shorten the population right now. But yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. So if y'all have any more questions on AI, y'all can definitely find Brandon afterwards.
And don't be afraid of it, because it's going to create like 100 trillion new dollars. And that's not like taking away from any industry, that's creating new money. So it's 100 trillion, so that's like money that it doesn't even exist yet. So just don't be afraid of it.
I couldn't agree more. I'm not a technical, I'm like an ideas person and a creative. So the only thing I know about AI is like ChatGPT. And the thing that I know is that if the service is free, then you are the product. So when Brandon talks about like the big companies, those are the people that maybe we should shy away from, but not AI itself. Because in the same way, Crystal Brown from Cirque Nova gave a great TED Talk about the artificial understanding of intelligence, and it was about AI. And so she talked about how Henry Ford, if he asked the people what they wanted, they would have said they wanted faster horses. They didn't want a horseless carriage. Barry Gordy was able to effectively apply the Ford model, which was the AI of its day, or machines, to the process of creating music, which built Motown. So AI, I think, is just this generation's version of machine learning, and it's something that's going to help us to industrialize differently. So I think AI is a really important tool, and we have to figure out how to leverage it before it does become the Matrix for real.
And we got to get our community involved in it
Right.
as well. Like the Detroit community, those people who don't have access to technology, it's really important that we are providing them with the resources and the access. Because as we think about the Detroit of tomorrow, we have to talk about equity and inclusivity. So yes, I love all those answers. So another quick answer: How does your Detroit background and city's legacy of innovation inform your approach to building and growing your company? How does the Detroit in you inform how you build this company that you are heading right now?
Detroit is the motor city, and it was built for cars, and somehow we still got a whole lot of mobility gaps. And it's true for our kids too. So what we don't see enough of is kids going out on field trips. The average kid in a K-12 school in America takes 3 field trips per year. In Michigan, y'all already know what they are. In the fall, you go to the apple orchard. In the spring, you go to the museum. And before school's over, you go to the zoo. And those are terrible field trips. Why? Because they're so crowded. Like there's 10,000 kids at the zoo. You're gonna wait in line forever to pay $30 for one drink. It's an awful experience. But what does it look like if we say, let's do a field trip every month? Matter of fact, what is even a field trip? It's not going to a cornfield. It's to see what's in the career field.
Right.
So what we want to do is to be able to expose these kids to all the amazing things that are happening. New Lab has signed up to be one of our venues that we can bring kids to, but also we've taken kids to StockX, to Microsoft. like Michael said, that's hard. It is. But like, these are not places that our kids are getting to go to. If we can't get them to a free trip at the museum, that they have a free membership because they live in the city, what's gonna happen? It doesn't have to be anything crazy. So Detroit has inspired me to do things differently because we've been so left behind for so long that it's gonna take technology for us to be able to leapfrog to where some of these other places are.
Nice.
Who else wants to jump in on that one?
How Detroit inspired me is because when I started getting into socks heavy, I became the sock pal for all my friends, and I have a lot of friends. And they would all ask me like, what's this? And I'm like, I'm not a financial advisor. I can't give you investment advice, but this is what I'm doing. This is the stock I chose. Do whatever you want to do. Some of it, like at one time, I bought AMD for like $9. I bought Nvidia early. What else? Maitland Marietta. A bunch of Tesla. Like a bunch of stuff. So I made some money. Yeah, I did all right. I turned like $8,000 into $32,000 in like 8 months. Just trading off of my social media. Just off Twitter, just off pictures on Instagram. I would look at logos. I would see the things. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this out, see if it actually works. And it worked, fortunately. But my community, like knowing everybody and everybody asking me about investing made me the first stock pal. And then they did whatever they did. And I told them I was gonna build a tool to help everybody because I just know way too many people. I don't know way too many people. I know a lot of people and I wanna know more and I wanna help everybody. So that's what inspired me to do it.
Nice.
That's a great, now that makes sense, stock pal. I never knew where the name came from, but.
The name came from PayPal. You feel me? So I was like, it was a double entendre.
I got you, but.
Got you.
PayPal, I was like, that's kind of cool. What can I make it memorable like PayPal? It's super easy to say. Yeah, stock pal, yeah.
Nice.
Really just a great, I'm sorry, no one hustles like Detroit. It's just something about it. Like I'm up 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, easy. That just comes from Detroit hustling. New York, they're hustlers too. Like you go other parts of the world, they hustle, but you know, Detroit, I'm just saying, they move fast, right? But Detroit hustles hard. I'm really more inspired of the opportunity to help people who don't understand, like people up here, like how they can actually create the companies and the resources. And it shouldn't be so much of a wow factor to be like, oh wow, you're doing that. And you know, less than 2% of founders of color get capital. So it's like, we need to create these companies, like these great people up here and show the young kids in the inner city of Detroit that they can do it too. So I'm really inspired by the opportunity to come back and help.
So I'll jump in too about our company, The Lab Drawer. We are from Detroit, graduated high school, both Cass Tech, and Detroit educational system is suffering when it comes to STEM education. It is underperforming across the board. So when we decided to build this company, we had community in mind, right? So we work with local organizations, schools, nonprofits to make sure students are having that access to STEM education. Because if we're not educating those students, all these companies we talking about creating, they're not gonna have any of those students from Detroit sitting on them. They're not gonna have any Black and brown students. And when you look at the pictures of these people, companies, it's not gonna be any Black or brown faces. And unless we have true inclusivity, unless we have equity, we can't have true innovation, right? So that's what we're all here building. And it's also known that when Black founders build companies, they hire more Black people. They hire more brown people. And our companies are usually more diverse than a lot of our competitors. But Brandon did touch on something about funding, which is a good segue into what I was going to say next. So, just to let you know how we're setting up the panel, we started out talking about our past, and how do we come, where do we come from, where we're connected to Detroit. We talked about what we're presently working on, and now we're going to touch on some things about what does the future look like. But before I put us in the future, we do need to realize a couple things. It's important to acknowledge that the current reality, overall Black entrepreneurs typically receive less than 2% of all VC dollars each year.
Less than 0.5.
And while companies led by Black women receive less than 1%. Now let's break these down into real numbers, because I know we hear in percents. In 2023, Black founders in the US got only 0.48% of all venture dollars. That's $661 million of $136 billion. That is ridiculous, right? So in order for Black founders to continue to grow their companies, we do need to be capitalized. So my next question to you all is, envision your company fully capitalized and achieving its goals. What does success look like? And how would it improve the world, Detroit, and the community if people were investing in y'all like they're investing in these other founders? Who wants to go first?
One word, unicorn. It's all about creating unicorns, people of color to create unicorns, to show that, because there's a lot of money in our communities and we have the educational backgrounds, but it's a handicap match that we're competing against other companies and our inventions get Christopher Columbus all the time. Because this kid went to Stanford, this kid was in Palo Alto, they're feeding their companies, they see these other companies, they steal their information from our pitch decks, and then they go blow it up, and now people who look like us are sitting back saying, oh man, remember when you invented this 5 years ago? That's a joke, right? But that's systematic, right? But look at us overcoming the odds right now, you know, the things that we've been able to accomplish despite having that handicap against us. So I think it's just about creating unicorns. That's what it comes down to for me.
That's what's up.
So is it what I would do when I get fully funded, or once the company is like taking off, like the success? What does success look like?
So we gonna get to what you gonna do, what would you do if you were fully funded, but I wanna know, what does success look like for your company if it was fully funded?
What success looks like for us is everybody on the platform making money from me monetizing their data. So what we plan to do is companies are going to want the data that we collect, right? Because we're getting we're creating a new, according to the former head of Google Ads, we're creating a new set of data because we know who you are in the fake world, that's the social world, but I have to know your customer data, that's who you are in the real world, and I get to merge both of those things in one place. So now I know what you're liking, like whatever your Instagram cherry blossom 33 might not be connected to Jane Smith, but now I can connect it so I know who Jane Smith is. I have a real picture of her. So then I can market it to Jane Smith a lot better and a lot more efficiently and for a much cheaper cost for corporations like Target, Best Buy, whatever, all these other places. So when those companies want to advertise to Jane Smith will get a percentage of revenue based off of whoever we sold her data to that month. And then now Jane Smith has a form of like universal basic income, but just from stock value. And then we also want to replace social security numbers because all of your social security numbers are out there. There's nothing you can do about it, no matter how great your credit becomes. 10 years from now, somebody can take it and go buy lawnmowers for everybody in Green Bay. And that's an unfortunate thing. So what we want to do is, with your account number, when you sign up for a stock account, we tokenize your information, so I don't even know who you are. And then we'll tokenize your account number, so then you can go and use that, and we can also show, since we have who you are in the social world, what you're invested in, how you spend your money, it creates like a better credit profile in the credit TransUnion who make their password and let everybody steal your data. So we'll have a more secure number that you can use to then apply for credit cards, get mortgages, all these other things, and you can go about your life safely because the Social Security Administration is not issuing new numbers.
Yeah. And quantum computing is coming too. So quantum computing are like supercomputers. So whatever you're using now, getting on the internet, it pops up. Supercomputer is working at 1,000 times at that speed. So it's going to try to crack codes and blockchain and everything. So cybersecurity is the future too. Just wanted to add that in.
You said a lot. Success for TripSlip is honestly not being funded, it's revenue. Because a lot of times that funding comes with investors who may not share your vision for your company. I know that y'all have had a ton of success and been able to bootstrap not using that route. So for me, success looks like minimal investment, non-dilutive investment that allows us to get to revenue. Because again, we got 165 million field trips that are happening in K through 12 public schools. And we capture 20% of that, and we're able to get $2 from every parent who pays in that convenience fee when they have to pay for a field trip. Like, there's a bunch of revenue streams. But our goal is to be able to give away $1 billion a year. Give it away. Like, what would it look like if Facebook or LinkedIn or any one of these gigantic companies was located in Detroit? Detroit would be very, very different. So we want to be able to have an impact on the city, on the schools, on the children. Like, agnostic of anything, just give back. Like, to give away $1 billion, not to expect anything from it, but to go and help. That's what we look like, fully funded and successful.
I love that. I love that she also,
Yeah.
clap up for that, for sure.
Yeah.
I love that she also said it necessarily doesn't look like getting funding from VCs. And she did point out, we did bootstrap the lab drawer. We are a profitable company. We're continuously bringing in revenue, and we do it with contracts and the work that we're doing. And we don't have nobody telling us what to do. And we can continue to drive impact into our community and build a company to support the community just as we designed it.
Yep.
So I think that is important when you think about going after capital. Maybe it isn't for you, but there needs to be a pathway. We're not doing this as community service. We are still having community and social impact built into our companies, but we can build large revenue driving companies. So I love that.
Turning down money.
What?
So you be turning down money.
Oh.
Hey, yes, it ain't right. All money ain't good money.
Hey.
I mean, it's symbiosis to the music industry where all these people were signing to labels under these 360 deals and they owned all of the music and people went independent. So especially with AI, a lot of people are going to be able to bootstrap even further. I don't have to pay this particular person. I can get my company off the ground, especially for SMBs who are running the country right now. 8 out of 10 small businesses don't even have employees. So those numbers are staggering.
Wow.
Guess where I'm going to go next? Because Achsha, you kind of hit on it. About your give back if your company was successful and how important that was. Mike, you were talking about something when we had an off conversation the other day. Like, now you as the founder, you as built a multi-million-dollar company, your pockets are now filled with cash. You from Detroit. What are you doing to support the community that you came from? Because this is what differs from founders from Detroit and those who are just visiting and just are passing through to build a company. So let's talk about what's the difference in a Detroit founder. You rich, your pockets are full. What are you doing for your community and how are you giving back?
So I don't want to make a lot. I know the trajectory of my company and where my money is going to come from. But starting off, I just want to hire people and give everybody's starting salary $70,000. I think that just helps a lot in the community. It helps with people understanding money, how to spend it, not living check to check, being able to actually go on one vacation a year to Disney World with your kids or something like that, instead of making $15,000 a year. And then with all the money that you said my pocket's full. My mom likes spas.
I love it.
So
That's right. That's
as well as I'm not the type of person that I'm a person that thinks about the future, right? So it's not about what I'm doing while I'm here and around. It's about what happened to Earth 100 years from now, 500 years from now. What are they? Because we still like use stuff that people create. Like, we know who built the pyramids. You know how crazy of a person you had to be in order for me to know who you are 10,000 years later, and to know that you built the pyramids. That's insane to me. So I just want to leave like that kind of impact, like redesign Detroit, build up the neighborhoods that nobody cares about, but us, and yeah, just provide opportunity for everybody in the city of Detroit. Like, again, a universal basic income for people from Detroit. Healthcare, all this stuff, because it's just necessary. And we can't depend on the government and everybody else. Private companies have to do these things. They have to help. Billionaires used to build museums and railroads and stuff, and now they just collect as much money as possible and say, hey, I have more than you. Like, what? It's weird.
See? Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. Like, when you think about Dale Carnegie, Vanderbilt, Rockefeller, all those guys, they spent their wealth on legacy. And so what is the legacy that these companies will leave into the city? For me, like, if we can once we are able to give away $1 billion a year, that's gonna help organizations and schools. Like, so we can't depend on the government. Like, I'm a DPS grad, DSA all day. Back when that was something to brag about. But like, the Detroit public schools, in my opinion, won't be around in 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they would.
Okay, they won't be Detroit public schools.
Yeah, they would.
Okay.
I'm gonna pay taxes.
Okay, but remember emergency financial management? They've shown us a pathway already. How is it that we have these gorgeous schools and that are underperforming? Cass, DSA, Renaissance, Mary Grove, all brand new schools, gorgeous. Enrollment is down. So what does it look like for us as entrepreneurs to give back true public-private partnership? Because we can't depend on the government to do it. The government is taking our tax dollars to build stadiums for people who are billionaires and could probably pull the money out of their pocket and build it. So how is it that the city owns Comerica Park and Little Caesars Arena, but is exclusively leased and operated by Olympia Entertainment forever? We're getting messed over in these deals because people are able to take their money and their influence and tell the city what to do. We don't even need to work with the city. I want to work with Mike Duggan, sure, but if we do everything the right way, they'll come to us and allow us to be able to make the changes that we know need to be made because we're still in this community and we're born here.
Yeah.
Take us away with one last question.
I'll make it succinct. Really just infusing into companies in the city and then creating something that doesn't die when we do. So something that we can pass down, real estate, these different things, because there are a lot of things that are keeping our families out from investing. And then you look around the monopoly, it all belongs to a certain few. I think 3 billionaires own 70% of downtown Detroit, or something like that. So those are the problems that we have to fix, and the education piece is really important. Educating in school, not putting them in the same system that did nothing for us. But hey, didn't work for me. I'm $80,000 in debt. Let me go ahead and put my kid through the same system. It didn't work for me. Right? Like, we have to get out of this moronic program where we're just on autopilot doing things because we've been programmed to do it. Once we unplug from the matrix, that's when change is impacted.
Yeah.
All right, so final question. As homegrown Detroit tech innovators, you're not just building companies, you're shaping the future of the city. If you could send a message to the next generation of Detroit entrepreneurs, especially those from underrepresented backgrounds, what would you tell them about the power and potential of starting a company in your community?
It's important for the reasons I just mentioned in terms of passing something down, where you're passing the company down, creating trust, giving it to the family. Because money, once you pass money down, it's going to go away. But I think creating something that inspires other people is going to be extremely important for other people to see. You just never know. One sentence might change the entire life of a kid, right? But yeah, I kind of answered on the last one, so that's all I have for time's sake.
Mine is the impact of building your community. You don't know who's watching you, especially the kids. You do not know who's watching you. You do not know the impact you can have on their lives. And I've seen so many of my friends leave and go places and become successful. So that's what we think we have to do. We have to get out of Detroit in order to be successful and leave and then go be successful and then never come back to Detroit because everybody's going to want what you have. And that's just not the case. So I stayed, or I want to stay, to show everybody and all the kids that you can be from Detroit, look like me, talk like me, and do whatever you want to do in life and help everybody around you.
Yep.
I think that's the most important part. You have to see it before you see it, or you'll never see it. And so you have to see it in your mind first, but you also need to see it in the community. You need to know, like Michael said, there are people that look like me that have done it. Unfortunately, people don't act on their ideas that could take them somewhere. So don't be afraid to build. Ideas do not live with you. They will go where they need to go to be executed upon. So you first seeing it is the idea that you have. So you have to be able to have the vision for it and to be able to bring it. And right now is the best time to build Detroit.
And I would just add one last thing is I would challenge them to dream big, to think beyond what you see in front of you, and also to connect with entrepreneurs that are here. Me and my business partner, we're born from Detroit, but 2 Black scientists. We mentor over 40 girls a year. They're now off to school on full rides at Yale,
Spelman. Yep.
LSU, studying STEM, computer science, pre-dental, and that they're always coming back to us, asking for resources, asking for need things they need, and like the communication doesn't stop. Like that's how we're plugged in with the community. So I would say find people who care about your community, find entrepreneurs willing to guide you along the way. It's so much help that you can get here, and there's also so many free resources. If you don't know the first thing and you have an idea, take a class. There's so many different free resources, and that's actually how I built, my knowledge in business and entrepreneurship. I'm excited to see where all these companies grow to. I think we laid the groundwork and did some amazing things. We were talking about ed tech, fintech, AI, crypto. Like Detroit is filled of amazing people, and we want to make sure our voices are heard. And next time y'all looking at those portfolios, make sure you have some real Detroit founders on there too. Born and raised here. I challenge y'all all to do that, to make sure you talk about Detroit founders, at least one of them on your portfolio was born or went to school here and actually are a part of the community and connected to the community. Because again, we are the heart of Detroit. We were here before everything started, the Renaissance started, and we'll be here after, and we'll be giving back to our communities as well. And that's what separates us. Thank you all for coming to our panel. We appreciate your time, and we hope you enjoy the rest of Michigan Tech Week.
For fighting for this panel and wanting to put it together and being intentional about it. And then thank Rishi, I don't know where he went, but yeah, thank you Rishi for allowing us to do this and approving this. And thank you all. And yeah, again, thank you, Deirdre.
Great job.
Yeah. Woo!
Let's hear it for the Detroit panel one more time. True Detroit.
Yeah.